For years, Hawaii 5-0 has shown us paradise, ocean waves, palm trees, and never give up heroes. But behind that perfect tropical beauty, tragedy has quietly written its own story. Many of the actors who played these characters faced suffering, illness, and darker fates than the sunsets they once stood beneath. What really happened to them? Let's find out. James MacArthur as Danny Dano Williams. Danny Dano Williams is the heart and soul of Hawaii 5-0. Intelligent, loyal, and compassionate, he balanced McGarrett's cold control with empathy and warmth. Every time he appeared on screen, there was a glimmer of light, a reminder that even in a world of crime and danger, kindness still matters. But before that gentle smile appeared on screen, James MacArthur carried heavy shadows within him. Adopted by Broadway legends Helen Hayes and Charles MacArthur, he grew up surrounded by undeserving fame and inescapable expectations. He worked backstage, painting backdrops and begging for small roles, desperately trying to prove himself worthy. Rejection hounded him everywhere, until a glimmer of hope in the woods and the Swiss Robinson family finally opened a door for him. However, fame also comes with a cage. Disney wants a perfect guy. James, on the other hand, wants to be himself. When Hawaii 5-0 began, it felt liberating, until that feeling faded. Behind the cameras, Jack Lord's long working hours and relentless perfectionism took their toll. The smile fans loved began to diminish, replaced by a quiet weariness. By the late 1970s, the magic had faded, the scripts had become empty, and the role that had defined his career had become a burden. He left the show before the final season, not out of anger, but in silence. He then took on smaller roles in films such as Murder, She Wrote, The Love Boat, and Fantasy Island, but the flame of passion never truly returned. Fame gave him everything, and also quietly took it all away. James MacArthur played Danny Dano Williams in Hawaii 5-0, beginning in 1968, when he was 31 years old. He passed away on October 28, 2010, in Jacksonville, Florida, at the age of 72 due to natural causes. His net worth was estimated at approximately $4 million. Jack Lord as Steve McGarrett. You know that powerful voice, that razor-sharp gaze, right? That's Steve McGarrett. On screen, he looks untouchable, calm, precise, the kind of man who strikes fear into criminals and wealthy media networks. But behind that suit and the famous book Dano, Jack Lord's true story is a far cry from the paradise he's living in. Before Hollywood called his name, he had lived 100 different lives. Sailor, painter, salesman, dreamer. He apprenticed under Sanford Meisner while selling Cadillacs just to pay rent. Casting directors rejected him, finding him too serious, too cold. The intense focus you see on screen comes from years of being told he would never succeed. He almost quit after Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Too much rejection, too little kindness. Then came Dr. No. His turn. His role as Felix Leiter should have made him a household name, but Lord's perfectionism cost him future Bond roles. He demanded a higher salary, more control, and ultimately lost it all. That gradually became a habit. Even in Stony Brook and God's Little Acre, he pushed himself too hard, wanting every detail to be perfect. Directors called him a fussy director. But that's the problem with artists who care too much about everything. They often burn themselves out from the inside. When Hawaii 5-0 came along, it finally fit in. Lord poured his heart and soul into the role of McGarrett, but the pressure to perform perfectly turned the set into a storm. His co-stars quit. The film crew members broke down in tears. Jack continued. He wanted every detail to be sharp, every lighting angle to be perfect, until his body began to give out. The intense focus that made him who he was also destroyed. Jack Lord played Steve McGarrett in the 1968 film Hawaii 5-0 when he was 48 years old. He died on January 21, 1998, in Honolulu from congestive heart failure after a long, silent battle with Alzheimer's disease. He passed away at the age of 77, leaving behind an estate of approximately $12 million, all of which he donated to charities in Hawaii. Calm Fong plays Chin-Ho Kelly. He's not the most talkative character in Hawaii 5-0, but he's the heart and soul of the show. Chin-Ho Kelly, the quiet detective with sharp eyes and a calm heart, brought the series to life. In a world of guns and tension, Chin was a steadfast voice of reason, the kind of person who made justice more humane. In real life, Calm Fong Chun's life was forged by loss and resilience. As a World War II veteran and firefighter, he brought his survival instincts into acting. But tragedy struck soon after. In 1944, a bomber crashed into his home, killing his wife and 2 young children. For years, he couldn't talk about it. When he finally returned to acting at age 40, it wasn't for fame but to heal his emotional wounds. Fong joined Hawaii Five-0 at age 50, finally gaining recognition after decades of quiet struggle. But even success comes with pain. By the 10th season, the producers removed Chin Ho from the show, deeming him no longer appealing enough. This decision devastated him. He poured his heart and soul into the program, and then suddenly it all ended. Financial pressure returned, and he took on small roles in local theaters just to make ends meet. In his final years, illness gradually set in. Lung cancer, the result of years of smoking under stress, slowly ravaged his life. The man who had saved many lives as a firefighter now struggled to breathe. All this time, he never complained. His friends said he always smiled and cracked jokes, even when bedridden. Calm Fong played Chin Ho Kelly in the Hawaii Five-0 series, beginning in 1968 when he was 50 years old. He died on October 18, 2002, in Honolulu at the age of 84 from lung cancer. His estimated net worth was $2.5 million, largely earned from the series, although much of that went towards medical expenses. His legacy lives on through his son, Dennis Chun, who later became involved in the remake of Five-0. Glenn Cannon as John Manicote. Glenn Cannon has brought the law closer to people. As John Manicote, the strict but fair prosecutor of Hawaii Five-0, he speaks as someone who has experienced both sides of justice. You believe him, even when his words are prepared, because he carries the weight of truth in every pause. But behind that confident exterior is a man who has spent decades struggling through the harsh realities of the entertainment industry. Cannon began his career on stage, with intense ambition and ideals, performing wherever there were lights and an audience. From New York to tiny theaters that could hold only 10 audience members, television arrived late, and when it did, he embraced every role with gratitude. Alfred Hitchcock introduced The Outer Limits, Combat. All of that happened before Hawaii called him. By the time he joined Five-0, he was nearly 40 and teaching to make ends meet between projects. Acting at that point was no longer about fame, but about his purpose in life. He brought that discipline to every courtroom. But ironically, the man who embodied reason lost his own reason, not out of arrogance, but because of a terminal illness. In the early 2000s, Glenn was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. It all began slowly, names forgotten, notes lost, until one day, even relatives became estranged. For 17 years, he drifted in fading memories. A man once praised for his lucidity, now trapped in confusion. Colleagues described his final years as tender yet heartbreaking, like watching a candle burn long after its flame has died out. Glenn Cannon played Attorney General John Manicote from 1971 when he was 38 years old. He passed away on April 18, 2017, in Honolulu at the age of 87 after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. His estimated net worth was $1 million, earned from acting and teaching at the University of Hawaii. In the role of Gilbert Lonnie Kauhi, also known as Kono Kalakaua. Kono Kalakaua is the strong and funny man of the Hawaii Five-0, a big man with an even bigger heart. Always ready to crack jokes or throw punches, Kono brings warmth, humor, and humanity to the team. He's more than just a laugh maker. He's the glue that binds the tough guys together. In real life, Gilbert Lonnie Kauhi, or Zulu as he was known, was also an extraordinary person. But his story was darker. A former Coast Guard officer, athlete, and surfer, he rose to prominence from clubs in Waikiki as a stand-up comedian and singer. Leonard Freeman discovered him and invited him to star in the film Five-0, believing he had found a born star. But fame came too quickly. The drinking started early, the parties never stopped, and the Hawaiian paradise gradually turned into isolation. By the 4th season, behind-the-scenes tensions reached a peak. Alcoholism, debt, and volatile tempers led to Zulu's dismissal. He tried to change himself, even performing under the stage name Zulu after losing the rights to it, but to no avail. His fortune was squandered on gambling and lawsuits. Twice bankrupt, twice betrayed, he became another cautionary tale about the cruel, vicious cycle of Hollywood. As the years passed, his health deteriorated. Diabetes blinded him in one eye, and liver disease robbed him of his strength. Kono, once a towering figure, now lies bedridden, his booming laughter reduced to whispers. Friends say he never lost his warmth, even in the face of persistent pain. He even joked that he had reserved his spot before the doctors even made the reservation. Zulu played the role of Kono Kalakaua in the Hawaii Five-0 series from 1968 to 1972, when he was 31 years old. He died on May 3, 2004, in Honolulu at the age of 66 from complications of diabetes and liver failure. His net worth was estimated at around $500,000, much of which was lost to addiction and medical expenses. Al Harrington as Detective Ben Kokua. He was known as the South Pacific Man. Al Harrington breathed life into the character of Detective Ben Kokua with the calm and authoritative demeanor of someone who doesn't need to prove himself. He wasn't loud or flashy, but when he spoke, everyone listened. He brought the spirit of the islands wherever he went, both on screen and in real life. Harrington's path was never easy. Born in American Samoa, he grew up in poverty, raised by his maternal grandmother before reuniting with his mother in Hawaii. He worked while studying, played soccer, studied history, and even taught before finding his true passion in entertainment. Discrimination at university prevented him from majoring in drama, but that couldn't stop his love for the performing arts. When Hawaii 5-0 contacted him, Al was performing in shows in Waikiki, dancing, singing, and telling stories about the Pacific. The producers saw in him a rare quality, strength coupled with humility. That balance made him unforgettable as Ben Kokua, the detective who embodies both law and hospitality. His fame later transformed him into a symbol of pride for both Hawaii and Samoa. In his later years, he became one of the most beloved artists on the island, the main star of shows at the Hilton Hawaiian Village, and performing alongside legends like Don Ho. His charm made everyone feel like family. Even as his acting career waned, his presence remained undimmed. But in 2021, following a sudden stroke, Hawaii lost one of its most devoted fans. Al Harrington played Detective Ben Kokua from 1968 to 1972, when he was 33 years old. He passed away on July 21, 2021, at the age of 85 after a severe stroke. His estimated net worth was $2 million, earned from decades of performing and music. Richard Denning, as governor, needed no badge or gun. His power came from a single word. When the governor spoke, even McGarrett stopped to listen. Richard Denning's calm authority carries considerable weight. He embodies order in a world thriving amidst chaos. However, Denning's career has been far from smooth. He began his career in the 1930 South, struggling with small roles and forgotten B-movies. World War II interrupted everything. When he returned, Hollywood had changed. He lived for months in a trailer, pursuing any role that could help him make ends meet. His charming smile on screen masked years of hunger and self-doubt. Luck smiled upon him when he landed a role in the radio show My Favorite Husband, starring alongside Lucille Ball. But when the movie I Love Lucy came out, Lucille chose her real-life husband, Desi Arnaz, over him. That rejection broke his heart. Denning never spoke about it publicly, but friends say he carried that wound for decades. He shifted his focus to smaller-scale crime and horror films, such as Creature from the Black Lagoon, Day the World Ended, and learned to survive on persistence alone. By the time Hawaii 5-0 was released, he had virtually retired in Maui. Producer Leonard Freeman promised short working hours and easy workdays, persuading him to return. For Denning, the governorship was no longer about prestige. It was about belonging somewhere again. However, even in his later years, the long and stressful flights took a toll on his aging heart. Richard Denning joined Hawaii 5-0 in 1968, when he was 54 years old. He died on October 11, 1998, in Escondido, California, at the age of 84 from a heart attack. His net worth is estimated at around $3 million, accumulated from classic films and early real estate investments. Keeg Deg as Wofat. The moment Wofat appeared on screen, everything seemed to stop. That silence, that voice. He didn't need to shout. His mere presence was dangerous. Keeg transformed silence into power, creating a villain so haunting that even McGarrett seemed normal in his presence. But Deg's own life was as mysterious as the roles he played. Born into a family of mixed Egyptian and Chinese ancestry, he entered early Hollywood with quiet caution. Casting directors didn't know what to do with him. Too different for leading roles, too authoritative for supporting roles. He struggled with years of rejection before finding small successes on stage in Tea House of the August Moon and Flower Drum Song, where his deep, slow voice was first noticed. Even then, he carried the burden of doubt. In the 1966, his obscure background made him a target of Cold War paranoia. Some whispered that he was a real spy, a ridiculous rumor, but it haunted him. Nevertheless, he continued working, perfecting his unsettlingly calm demeanor as the man from Oncle and Khan. For him, acting was meditation. Every moment of silence is meaningful. Every stillness possesses power. Deep down, Deg sought peace in philosophy. He became a Taoist scholar, writing books on spirituality and establishing a Taoist sanctuary in Arizona. Acting gradually faded from his life, replaced by teaching, poetry, and the serenity he had lost during his time of fame. But time was not kind to him. Old age robbed him of his health. Loneliness took away his joy. The man who had once been the embodiment of control spent his final days quietly fading away, surrounded by few, yet remembered by many. Key Deg played Wo-Fat in the Hawaii 5-0 series from 1968 when he was 58 years old. He died on November 25, 1991, in Mesa, Arizona, at the age of 81 from natural causes. His estimated net worth was $800,000, earned from villainous roles and philosophical works. Herman Wedemeyer as Duke Lucala. Do you remember the Duke? The calm, reliable officer who never raised his voice but somehow still managed to keep everyone in line. Herman Wedemeyer offered him that warmth. The firm hand of a man who had weathered enough of life's ups and downs to understand that strength doesn't always require fanfare. In front of the camera, Herman Wedemeyer lived two lives. He was the Golden Boy of Hawaii, an all-American football hero known by the nickname the Flying Hawaiian. But glory comes with scars. Head injuries from his playing days haunted him, blurring his memory and shaking his confidence. When his sporting career ended, fame faded faster than he expected, and the subsequent silence struck him more painfully than any blow he had ever endured. His entry into acting was almost accidental, a return to discipline, something familiar. When 5-0 offered him admission to Duke University, he felt redeemed. However, even success couldn't extinguish the inner turmoil. After the television show, he entered politics hoping to serve the state he loved. But the path to election was harsh. One defeat after another wore him down. He had once tasted admiration, but now he faced indifference. In his final years, old injuries returned to torment him. His heart condition worsened, surgeries failed, and the once strong athlete now struggled to breathe. Friends say he faced everything like a soldier, never complaining, just silently enduring. Behind that famous smile was always a man who gave everything for Hawaii and kept nothing for himself. Herman Wedemeyer played Duke Lucala in Hawaii 5-0 from 1971 to 1980, beginning when he was 44 years old. He died on February 6, 1999, in Honolulu at the age of 74 from heart failure. His estimated net worth was $1.2 million, accumulated from sports, acting, and politics. He played the role of Che Fong, portrayed by Harry Endo. He never needed to raise his voice. Just looking at the evidence reveals the truth. Che Fong is the person people trust when chaos erupts. Calm, precise, and almost perfectly focused. He wasn't chasing criminals. He quietly exposed them, little by little, solely through reason and patience. Harry Endo's path to acting was entirely accidental. Originally a bank employee, he was filming a commercial for his company when someone noticed his composure. That moment changed his life, but Hollywood wasn't very kind to men with his looks. As a Japanese American in the 1966, he faced obstacles that no resume could overcome. Even after leaving Task Force 5-0, acting roles were rare. The war years had forged Endo. He joined the U.S. Army in 1941, serving bravely in Europe as a radio operator. But upon his return, opportunities were very limited. Acting came relatively late, but it gave him a purpose in life, a second identity after years of living in obscurity. Even so, the prejudices of the film industry did not disappear. By 1980, weary and disillusioned, he quietly retired. In his later years, old age brought him much suffering. Arthritis caused his hands to stiffen, and memory loss began to set in. The man who once played a genius is now lost in his own thoughts. Friends say he spent his final years in a nursing home, lonely but peaceful, often smiling while rewatching old episodes of the 5-0 series without realizing he was in it. Harry Endo played Che Fong from 1969 to 1977, when he was 46 years old. He passed away on July 9, 2009, in Los Angeles at the age of 86 from natural causes. His estimated net worth was $1.8 million, earned from years of work in banking and his time on the TV show Hawaii 5-0.